And today's topic is tomatoes. There are 6 myths about tomatoes that I'd like to try to debunk today. We've got tomatoes that are vine ripe here. Let's take a look.
Hello, and welcome to the Back Garden Yard channel, where my wife and I transformed our backyard into a vegetable and flower garden. Follow along with us as we show how to plant, grow, and harvest our garden in all 4 seasons of the year. Now, let's get into today's topic.
No, those are not vine ripe, but we're gonna pick them. So here's the first one. It's nice and orange, but it's not red. We'll put it down over here. Oh, but look at this one. But this is a vine ripened tomato. It's ready for slicing. It's about as big as my hand, and I mean it is a perfect specimen of a better boy tomato. And here's another one, about the same size. Another very nice better boy tomato. And let's go back where we were. And here's one that has been sampled by some critter, and there's a hole in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and pick it because it could be okay, or part of it could be okay. And here's one that's just turning, and we're gonna leave it for another day. So let's go on down. And here's another one. Oh, what a beauty. This is a better boy. And, well, it's not vine ripened. Why did I pick it? And here's another one. It is not red. There's still a lot of green on it. Why am I picking all these tomatoes? So the answer is, I've only got one vine ripened tomato, and it's this one right here. The rest of them still are not ripe, but I picked them anyway. And the answer is, when they've turned nice and orange at least halfway through, you can put them in the house, just leave them in a sunny place, and they will get vine ripened like this, and they'll have the same flavor. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try it. The good thing is, when one's sitting here this ripe, every squirrel, every chipmunk, just about everything that wants to bite a tomato will come out and give it a sample, and then you're going to lose it. If you'll go ahead and pick them when they just are turning a little over half turned, and then put them in the house in a sunny place, they will get just as red and ripe as this one does. So let's go inside and take a look. So here's the next myth that I would like to debunk, and that is that this green stem must be left on the tomato. Well, I usually take the green stem off. And what is the purpose of the green stem? The green stem is what feeds the tomato while it's growing. Well, it's no longer growing. It doesn't need that green stem. And if you pick a bunch of tomatoes and you set them on top of each other and they've got the green stems, you're going to poke holes in them. You're going to ruin your beautiful tomatoes. So I generally go ahead and take all the green stems off of my tomatoes. And that is why. It doesn't need the green stem no matter what they say. Its green stem has done its job. So let's take the green stems off. Now, here's another very controversial issue. So this is what a lot of people call the shoulders of the tomato. And they say that you need to store with the shoulders down. Now, I'm not exactly sure why, because the bottom of the tomato will support the weight of the tomato. And the problem I have with storing them that way is if you've gotten one that is like this one here, that has gotten so big that it has cracked. You can see the cracks. And you store it upside down, well, it's not growing upside down. Some of that fluid inside may start leaking and it may start rotting and you may not even see the puddle under it. And you're gonna lose this beautiful tomato. So I always store mine right side up or shoulder side up. Now, I don't think it really matters. If you wanna store them on the shoulders, then you go ahead. But you can take one like this, it's got that little crack there. You won't see it leaking. So my belief is to store them shoulder side up. Okay folks, so it's been 2 days and I've left these tomatoes sitting right here. I did eat the big one that was here and the other one that was here. And I want to show you how these ripened in the house. And first we're going to turn them over and show you that there's no problem with having them sitting upright and not on the shoulders. And I want you to look how perfectly ripe this tomato is compared to one that I just picked today. And you can see that it has totally ripened. And of course now I'm going to take the stem off of this one. And I'm going to lay it right here and let it finish ripening. Here's another one. You can see it probably needs one more day here. But this one is ready for the table. This one here, ready for the table. So that's why I go ahead and pick these when they're this color here. And I've got another one. So I like to get these when they're about, I don't know, half to 3/4 ripe before the squirrels and everything else. So here's the other one that was on this table. You can see the difference in the color in just 2 days. Usually 2 or 3 days is all it takes. Now you can take it and put it in the refrigerator. If you're not going to eat it today, just like this one, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and it'll be ready to eat tomorrow. Same thing with this one. So now I'm out here where the early girls are. And these early girl tomato plants, I mean, they are loaded. Would you just look at the tomatoes on these early girl plants? And one thing I want to point out is, this is another myth. You have to use shade cloth to grow your tomatoes if the temperature gets over 90 degrees for a high several days. Well, it's been 90 to 97 degrees for the last 15 days here. And as you see, I have no shade cloth. But if you look at this tomato, which has vine ripened, and you look at it from the sun's perspective, it's not getting hit by the sun. And these here are just getting partial hit. So if you can take the tomatoes the way I show and tie them up so that you keep the leaves going in a smaller area to cover up these tomatoes, that way then you can have a whole bunch of these right here, and you do not have to have shade cloth to grow beautiful tomatoes. And as you can see with these early girls, they are loaded. Here's another one I'm gonna pick and let it ripen because it's already so close. And so another myth is that when your tomatoes start growing, that you should take all the lower leaves and all the lower suckers off of the plants. Well, in this case, if you'll look at this lower sucker that came out right after it started growing, look at the tomatoes that it produced. If you'd have taken that off, you would not have those tomatoes. Then over here, you got another sucker and that bunch of tomatoes. And then of course, up here, you've got all these tomatoes. This is actually two plants have come together with their suckers, but just look at the tomatoes you wouldn't have, because here's the main stem, and yes, the main stem has made a very nice crop of tomatoes, but you would be losing all those that the suckers have. So the answer is, I don't usually cut the suckers off until they get way up here, and I think there's more tomatoes than the plant can survive and feed. So in this particular case, this particular sucker here, I would go ahead and take it off, and that one is just not needed because the plant is so big. I'm gonna let this one come on up just like this one is blooming. So if you can see that, then here I see a bunch of blooms that didn't make anything. So I'm going to take this sucker off. But you notice I'm not taking the lower suckers off, I'm taking the upper suckers off. I'm leaving these leaves so they'll shade the tomatoes that are under, and I won't need shade cloth. And now we'll go in the house and I will debunk another theory. Okay, now we're going for another myth, and that is that you shouldn't store your tomatoes in the refrigerator. So we are having tomato BLTs tonight, bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches, and we're going to use these tomatoes and that big one that I had. These have been in the refrigerator for 2 days, and they're just beautiful. They're just sitting here waiting for us to do something with them. So the fact that they've been sitting in the refrigerator has nothing to do with the flavor they're gonna have. So I'm gonna take them out since it's getting close to dinner time. I'm gonna just take them out now, and I'm going to put them on the plate with the other tomatoes. And there we go. I mean, just looking at them, you can't tell they've been in the refrigerator for 2 days, but they have, and they will be just fine for dinner tonight. And to me, that is the biggest, as our president would say, bunch of malarkey I've ever heard. So when you get one like this, and let's say you don't want to eat it tonight, but you want to eat it in the next couple of days, if you will put that in the refrigerator, it'll still be just like this in a couple of days. If you leave it out here, this spot here may start rotting. And so the answer is, put it in the refrigerator, and then after just a couple of days, you can take it out, and it'll still be good. And yes, the flavor is diminished on a cold tomato. So sit it out a couple hours before you're gonna eat it. If you're gonna eat it at 6 p.m., take it out about 4, put it on a plate and just let it sit out and get to room temperature, and it's gonna taste just like it would taste right now. And that is the tomato myth debunked. Okay, folks, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.